Need to shave. The hair's starting to curl over my lip. A little too much for me. Anyway, today we're gonna go over drumsticks and what ones I personally use, why I use them, and airplane just going over. I have to pause every time there's an airplane because it gets in the audio and you just hear. But before we do all that, I need to go shave. So let's do that and we'll talk about drumsticks. Alright, I just shaved. It was honestly mostly the neck. For those of you that have facial hair, like the neck is just the worst when it gets too long and nasty. And anyway, shaved, we're good. We're at the drum set, obviously, and we're going to talk about these guys, my favorite drumsticks. Now, before we get into it, there's a million drumsticks made by a million different companies, and there's a reason for that. Everything I'm about to say is just my personal opinion, and if you have a different opinion, that's great. I'd love to hear from you, and if you do have a different opinion, comment down below and let me know what you like using and why you like using it. I love talking to drummers about stuff like this. It creates a community and it opens my eyes and other people's eyes to different products that I may have not tried if somebody didn't suggest them. So all that to be said, my opinions, if you have different opinions, that's totally fine. So I've been playing drums for a long time, and because of that, I've gone through a lot of different sticks, and these are the ones that I've kind of stuck with the longest. So the drumstick that I play is the SD2 Bolero. SD2 Bolero. I've been using these sticks by far the longest of any of the drumsticks that I've used, and I've used a lot. Like when I say a lot, I mean like a lot. Actually, let me just show you how many drumsticks I actually have. I told you I had a lot of drumsticks. These are also taped because we just moved, and these are drumsticks I don't use anymore, but I didn't want to get rid of them because I mean, there's a lot of drumsticks in here, and this isn't even just the beginning. Like I have other drumsticks stored somewhere else. This is just the first and closest pile of drumsticks I could get to. All that being said, I've used a lot of different drumsticks, and because of that, I have a lot of thoughts on drumsticks and what I personally look for in a drumstick. So with that, let's get into it. All right, the first thing that I really like about these drumsticks specifically is the rebound. When you're playing drums, an important aspect of a good drumstick or a drumstick that fits how you hold it and how you interact with the instrument is how the drumstick rebounds. With rebounding and stuff, it allows you to do things like roll, diddle, and even depending on how fast you're playing on the drum set, it can determine if you can do that fill or not at that specific speed, because there comes a point where you stop using your wrists when you're playing and when you're like doing diddles and stuff, and the drumstick starts bouncing on its own. And because of that, having a stick that rebounds well with how you play drums and how you interact with the instrument is kind of important. If a drumstick rebounds well or not has a huge impact, and probably the biggest impact on if I want to use the drumstick in the future or not. That's honestly why I stopped using these guys. These are just ProMark 5B drumsticks. I didn't like the way they rebounded, the way that I play drums. I know a lot of guys that swear by ProMark drumsticks, and I tried using them for a long time, but they just it never felt like home to me like these do. Another thing I really enjoy about these guys is the beaded tip. It provides a certain tonality, and it also helps with the rebound of the drumstick. And actually, before I got these guys, I used these ProMark drumsticks that have the beaded tip, and they had good rebound. These just felt a lot better to me. I just said rebound like 25 times. Another thing I really like about these drumsticks is how light they are, both weight-wise, and the way that they sound when I'm hitting cymbals and drums. They just have an airiness to them that I really enjoy. You know, let me just play and show you. I don't know if you can hear that, but they just don't sound as thick and as heavy as something like this ProMark hickory drumstick would be. And a lot of that is because of the wood and material that they're made of. These are maple drumsticks, and maple's typically going to be a lot lighter, a lot airier. It's going to be really good for volume control, versus hickory is going to be heavier and a lot darker. So a lot of jazz musicians will actually use maple drumsticks because, again, it's not nearly as loud on the cymbals, mostly on the cymbals, because it's always about the cymbals for volume. It's never about the drums, it's always about the cymbals. But they'll use these guys because on the cymbals they're not nearly as loud as something like a hickory drumstick would be, but you can still get a full body and a nice decent impact of a crash or of a ride or whatever you're playing with these drumsticks. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play 4 notes with the Bolero and 4 notes with the hickory ProMark. Bolero first. Now, ProMark. So you can kind of hear how this one is a little more aggressive, the hickory, and this one is a little less aggressive and more like light and honestly kind of full, the Bolero. Another thing that I really like about these guys, and I didn't honestly think about this ever until I started using these guys and I noticed it, is the way that they sound on the rims of the drums. Maple drumsticks just sound a lot more airy and light. Airy is the word that is going to be sponsoring this video. Versus this ProMark is going to be a lot more heavy. Again, same thing as before, going to play 4 notes with this guy, the Bolero, and then after 4 notes with the hickory. Bolero first. Same thing as before, but on the snare drum. Bolero. ProMark. That was longer than 4 beats, but that's okay. Again, I really like the sound of these drumsticks when they make contact with rims of drums. It sounds right to me and it sounds like home. The last thing is going to be because of the thickness of this guy, it feels really good in the hand. Like it feels like I'm holding something substantial. I mean, it is gigantic. Like, look at that. It's like the size of it's the diameter of a frickin' dime, or not a quarter, maybe a penny. Is that the size of a penny? And because of their thickness, they also last a lot longer. See the thickness difference? And the last thing that I'm gonna say about drumsticks and everything else is there is no perfect drumstick for every drummer. Like every drummer is a little bit different, both the way their hands are constructed, the way they hold the drumsticks, the way they play the drums, and because of that, everybody's gonna like something a little bit different, and that's totally fine. Like I said before, these are all just my opinions, and if you want to check out these drumsticks and all the drumsticks that I showed you in this video, they'll be linked down in the description, and feel free to check them out. If you end up getting these ST2 Boleros and trying them, let me know your thoughts, whether that be on Instagram or down in the comments here or whatever. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on what you think about these drumsticks, because I really like them, but I would be interested to see if everybody likes these drumsticks or not. And if not, that's okay too. With that, I'm gonna call the video right here. So thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, go ahead and hit the like button down below. That'll help this video out and help me out with all those YouTube-y things. And if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button down below to stay up to date on all the new videos that I post on this channel 3 times a week. And with that, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.